The Second World War was arguably the most insane period in human history, and during the deadliest conflict the world has ever seen, the Nazis in Germany were developing some of the most bizarre and deadly weapons that have ever been conceived. Some of these weapons were intended to terrorize the British and Americans into ending the war, while others were just as deadly to the Nazis as they were to their enemies. Today, we'll be taking a look at some of the most terrifying and deadly weapons that were developed by the Nazis, as well as why they failed. As you'll see, not all of these weapons were destined for the battlefield. Some were just made with the express purpose of causing as much death and destruction as possible. Let's get started. During the war, German scientists and engineers came up with all kinds of strange weapons, from land-based jet-propelled bombs to flying torpedoes and even one gigantic tank that was over 30 feet long. But as we all know, despite having some truly brilliant minds working on these projects, none of these weapons were very successful. In fact, most of them ended up either exploding prematurely or just didn't work at all. So why is it that these weapons failed? Well, in most cases, it was a combination of poor engineering, extremely rushed timelines, and the lack of resources that ultimately led to their demise. However, in some cases, like with the V-2 rocket, the weapon worked exactly as intended, but it was incredibly dangerous to the people operating it. In fact, more German soldiers were killed during the testing of this rocket than during its actual combat deployment. Although these weapons may have seemed like a good idea at first, many of them were simply impractical or just too dangerous to use. But that didn't stop the Nazis from trying. In the end, these failed weapons were just another example of how desperate the Nazi regime had become by the end of the war. Although many of these weapons were never finished, there are still plenty of examples of them around today. In fact, many of the blueprints and prototypes can be found in museums around the world. What do you think of these weapons? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.